In today's episode, I am bringing you my final thoughts and update on my 1 month one palette. So throughout the month of March, I was using the Natasha Denona Star Palette as my palette of choice. So if you want to see my final thoughts, some looks with this palette and some swatches, then keep on watching. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina and I'm the makeup enthusiast. If you're new around here, make sure you click the subscribe button down below before we get into the video so you can keep up to date on all my videos that I am releasing throughout everyday April, which means I am releasing a video every single day in April. So without further ado, let's jump on into this video and see what my final thoughts on the Natasha Denona Star Palette are. So most of you have probably seen the Natasha Denona Star Palette before. So this is what the outer packaging looks like. It is a silver palette. These palettes are very well designed. I will say that I really like the way the Natasha Denona larger palettes are designed. They're very sturdy and they're very sleek and clean. I really enjoy the packaging. Opening up the palette, it does come with a mirror. It does also have this clear perspex that protects the mirror from the shadows. This can be cut out, but it is traditionally kept in there on the mirror side. So this is a 18 pan eyeshadow palette, and as you can see, it's kind of laid out with warm colors on one side and cooler colors on the other side. I do really appreciate the way that this palette is laid out. It does make it a little bit easier for your average kind of person to pick out colors that generally group well together. Generally find where you're having trouble if you're trying to mix cool and warm colors together. I know there are a lot of people that do like to mix cool and warm colors together, but this makes it a little bit easier because they are grouped together in blocks of 9 with warm on one side and cooler on the other side. There are 8 shimmers in this palette. I would say 2 satins and then the rest are mattes. So I think there's a good mixture of everything in this palette in terms of a palette that is cohesive and usable. And if you are like me and you like to mix shimmers and mattes together in most of your looks, you do have a good fair share of mattes and shimmers and those satin formulas in this palette that you can mix together to create one really nice cohesive look. Within the formulas though, there are a few differences that I have noticed. There's a chunkier shimmery formula, there's a creamy shimmery formula, and then there is also that satin formula in here along with the mattes. Obviously, depending on which formula you are going to be dipping into in this palette will obviously depend on what kind of look that you're going to be getting. The chunkier ones, if you're wanting to build them up quite a lot, you may need to wet them and also apply them with a glitter glue. That's just the way that I've found that they need to be applied. But in the meantime, I will swatch these for you and then I will show you the looks that I created with this palette, and then we will get to my final thoughts on the palette. So we have Spectrum, Earth, Bellatrix, Flesh. So I'm swatching all of the warm side for you now. Orion, Gemma, Atria, Titania, and lastly we have Cosmos on the warm side. So those are all the warm colours in the palette, and I'll swatch the cooler colours on my other arm. So we have Diadem, Vega, Galaxia, and Phoenix. Then we have Supernova, Electra, Polaris, Attic, and then the last one is Rhea. So those are warm colours and cool colours in the palette. So as you can see, it's a good mixture of both, and when they're swatched out you can definitely see that there is a difference in the colour stories. Okay, so you've seen the swatches, you've seen the rundown of what the palette looks like, and my 3 looks that I came up with using this palette. So my final thoughts. Do I think you need this palette? I don't. This palette here retails for $245 Australian. It breaks my heart to say that. For 18 shadows, I think that is a heck of a lot of money. I do think the palette is really nice. I think if you genuinely think that you will use this palette, I think the $200 price tag could be worth it. But even as you can see from the swatches, I mean, the formula isn't that great. I'm not 100% sure where all the hype for the Natasha Denona palettes come from. I definitely 100% got some amazing looks using this palette. I particularly enjoyed the 2 satins, so this purple satin here and this brown satin here. I feel like that gave me a better look on the outer corners than the mattes did. The shimmers, I don't enjoy the shimmer formula, particularly this one here. It is a really chunky shimmery formula. This one here is also the chunkier formula, as well as this one. I don't really enjoy that formula. I don't feel like it picks up that well on a brush, and I don't think it really lays down that well with a sticky base either. And it, as you can see, it just kind of gets really messy. One thing I will say about this palette is I love the design. I love the layout of the palette. I love that the background of the palette is just a neutral color. It really helps to see the colors true. I do actually like this. Generally, I don't like these in palettes. I do like this being in there because these shadows are a bit of a messier formula. So I feel like if you are going to actually be using this mirror, having this in here to protect the mirror and not get it really dirty all the time is going to do you wonders. In terms of colors in this palette, I do feel like there are a couple of double ups. Particularly these 2 here, they are very similar when they're swatched. These 2 as well, they do have a variance in them, but all in all, I don't think you need both of these as well as both of these in the palette. These 2 here are very similar in color as well. Just one is a satin formula and one is a matte. Along with these 2 purples, they are also quite similar. There's a lot of colors in here that are similar to each other, and that kind of disappoints me when you're paying over a $200 price tag for an 18 pan eyeshadow palette. In my opinion, and to me, I want something that the colors are quite different to each other. I feel like I can get these colors to look quite similar depending on how they are applied and what kind of technique I use with the brush. I don't feel like they need to be in there, the double ups. I don't feel like there's enough of a difference in the color formula to justify the price tag. If I could pick and choose 18 colors from Natasha Denona and put them into my own eyeshadow palette, I think I would much rather pay the $245 price tag than what they have chosen here. If I was you and you think that you would really get use out of this neutralish palette, or you really want to treat yourself on a designer, luxury, higher end neutral palette, I think this would be a good one. But if these are colors that you already have in your collection and you already enjoy that formula, I don't think you need to go out and splurge on this palette. I mean, it's a nice palette by all means, but I don't think it's worth the $245 price tag. I think I would have much rather maybe picking up one of the more colourful palettes from Natasha Denona, so like the Sunset palette or even the Lila palette. Being that it is a purple based palette, I think the Lila palette would really be my aesthetic. I love wearing purples, and I think I would get a lot of use out of the Lila palette as opposed to this one. So all in all, I think it's an alright palette. I really like the design. I like the packaging. I think the packaging is great. I wish a lot more palettes were in this of good quality packaging and laid out like this. I love the black background. It's a good solid palette. You can definitely tell that they invested a fair whack of money into the packaging of these palettes. Maybe design your own palette from singles from another brand. Something like that is going to do you better, I think, in the long run than picking up this palette. Those are my final thoughts on the Natasha Denona Star Palette. Let me know down in the comments box what your favorite look that I came up with from this palette is, and if you were going to pick up a Natasha Denona palette, which one would you choose? That's it for this video, everyone. Make sure you give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Also click the subscribe button down below so you can keep up to date on all my videos that are coming out throughout April. That's it for this video, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.